Hi friends, we're back and this is part 3 of our 5-part series called Reclaim. Go back if you haven't already watched. All of our videos are super short because we know you're tired. Like, who isn't tired these days? We don't want to throw too much at you, just little nuggets, little tidbits that we're hoping are encouraging you today, because we've already established there's a dumpster fire. You got to acknowledge it. It's not bad, it's not good, it's like all the things, it's life. So acknowledging it, we've talked about in video 1. Our second part was talking about how do you then organize that dumpster fire and recognize what is and isn't in your control. And Shelly did a really great job at hinting at the fact that what comes next is this containing. Like, how do we contain the dumpster fire? If it feels out of control, if it feels like it's spreading or getting into every area of our life, what is it, Shelly, that we can do? This is your area of expertise, right? Like, what is it? We could go on and on, folks, about this topic. But how do we best, especially in regards to the year 2020, Shelly, how and what do you suggest people do to contain their own dumpster fire?
Well, the first off is you need resources and you need help. So of course we have my handy dandy fire extinguisher here, right? We have to give it some control. We have to contain things. There's no doubt. That's why the next worksheet has got fire extinguisher on it. What is a fire extinguisher? What do we need to do with that? And understand the fact that a fire extinguisher is part of building resiliency, which we're going to go into later on some more. But who is in your toolbox? What resources do you have right now? And what resources do you wish you had? And what resources do you think you might be able to find pretty easily? The low-hanging fruit, as we would say. In using like a fire extinguisher, you've got a massive fire. Sometimes we just need to quelch it down a little bit just so we can identify the parts and the pieces. You're going to see that all 5 of these segments that we're doing with you can be interchangeable. Nothing ever always comes in a direct path, one step at a time. Wouldn't it be nice if that's the way life worked? But of course it's not. So resiliency in the people that are around you to help you contain. You may be able to do some of it on your own. We would hope so. But most cases, we need support. And that's really important for us to recognize the fact that who is in your fire squad? Who is your jump team? Who can you call at that 3 a.m. when everything has hit the fan? Write those people down. Write those things down. When I'm overwhelmed and I'm totally stressed out, I know even if it's walking down to the mailbox, it's going to force me to breathe. It's going to force my heart rate to get up. It's going to force myself to get the blood pumping and moving again. That is a resiliency technique. That is a containing technique. I'm going to contain my emotions and be able to pull things in so I can give it the true acknowledgement and not be off in fairyland, not comparing it to someone else. We briefly talked about the fire being contained like in a campfire. That it's really important that fire is good and we all have it. It's just, is it contained? Is it not contained? Sometimes we may need to actually extinguish it for a little while, right? And then decide whether or not we even want to start that fire again. And that's okay. And that's a good thing, to recognize what fire you need in your life and what fire you don't need. And my fire is going to look completely different from Kyle's, and it's going to look completely different to yours. So we don't compare ourselves, but we know that if I need some of her fire, I need some of that joy. I need some of that direction that's going to help me get me to that next place, to give me that little push I need to reclaim it, to look at it and go, okay, this is a good fire. I just needed to kind of contain it in a little bit of a different space so that I could use it really well. If in fact you're having a hard time, and that's where I usually come into play is on mine, when everything is it's ablaze and nobody knows what direction to fight the fire from and where it's in the fire and how's it going on. You need that crisis person, that person that walks alongside of you and says, hey, Let's help sort this out. Let me ask you some questions. Let me go, you know what, we're just gonna take some time here. We're gonna sit here together for an hour if we have to sit here for an hour together. And if it's in total silence, because I don't know what you're going through. And you're gonna have to be able to acknowledge it first internally in your head and in your heart and your spirit for you to be able to verbalize that so that we then can attack it with whatever needs to be done with that. And so that's kind of the idea of containing it, is making a list of people that you rely on, that you have support with. Maybe it's a Bible study group. Maybe it's, you know, a bowling league group. Maybe whatever your friends are, your friends because all of your kids are friends. Whatever that is, to negotiate and to have time together and make those connections continue even during this time when we're having to do it like this, but making those connections. We are not meant to do life by ourselves. We're never meant to do anything alone. Find your people to come alongside of you. I know Kyle's perspective of containing this fire is a little bit different, so I'm going to let her take over now and give us her perspective on containing.
No, Shelly, and I love what you said about even these videos, these short videos that we're doing, is it's not linear, right? Because just like fire itself is not linear, right? It's up in the air, it's all over the place, it spreads, it moves, it like dances, it's beautiful, and it's terrifying all at once. But some of the things you've taught me, Shelly, are very basic. So when it comes to containing, it's really like, take a deep breath, like you said, move your body. I always talk about the very basics, right? Which is breath work, like just take a deep breath, drink some water, eat a healthy snack, move your body and get sunshine. If nothing else, right? If you can't really get a hold of your, like contain your fire, like if you can't even approach that yet, do those things first and then see if you can go about what it means to contain your own fire. Because you've taught me very well, Shelly, like physical needs have to come first when it's time of crisis. And so I think it's super important to say that out loud. Like sometimes you can't dive into joy, or you can't dive into even your emotions. Like just meet your very basic human needs, because that might be the first step in containing whatever's going on, especially up in your mind. So you've taught me that. I'm just reiterating what you've taught me.
Yeah. Well, that's the most important part, is sometimes we have to take that pause and go, it's okay if you need to take a day or a week because you're overwhelmed, and it's all acknowledge, okay, I'm overwhelmed. And when you can give yourself that space to say, this is too tough right now. I just need to relax. I need to take a bath. I need to take a walk. I need to get out in the sunshine. And those 5 basic things I live by, even in the midst of crisis. The first thing I'm doing, is some of those models is to sit down and go, here's something to drink. Let's walk around the block. Let's deep breaths. You'll see me every time I do that. It's deep, because you've got to acknowledge that first before you can ever try and tackle. If you're not prepared, it's just like an athlete, right? An athlete's not going to go into the Olympics, going, oh yeah, no, I can run pretty good. No, they're going to be training and prepping and preparing. And if they're not trained and prepped and prepared, they're never going to be able to cross the finish line. Well, just like in the same as this, if you don't prep yourself, the nice thing is we can say, yeah, I need to take some time back and take a rest. Okay, take some time back and take a rest. But know that we still need to move forward so that we can contain our fires in such a manner that they're helpful, they're joyful, that they are full of life and spirit and things that we want to have in our lives that keep us going. My children were always that fire for me that I found so much joy in and so much excitement in. But I had to contain them, because if we didn't contain them, they would spread like wildfire, and goodness knows where they would be. It's not any different. They're just the same analogy over and over again.
That's good. I love it, Shelly. Okay, well, we promised you quick tidbits of information again on how to reclaim. So we hope that that contained message helps you today, and we'll see you next time on part 4. We're going to talk about how to maintain. All right, friends, see you next time.